Hello, my name is Brandon Bax, and I'm the Director of Human Resources for Fulton State Hospital. Our HR office has received questions about the Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as the ADA, and we want to be sure our staff know the protections and guidelines set forth by the ADA. In this presentation, we aim to equip you with a comprehensive understanding of the ADA and the ADA accommodation request process at Fulton State Hospital. Training goals. By the end of today's session, we want to ensure that you can grasp the protections afforded to disabled individuals, navigate through the intricacies of our department's accommodation request process, and understand the shared responsibilities between employees and employers in accommodating disabilities. Let's start with the foundation. The Americans with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA, was a groundbreaking legislation enacted in 1990. Its primary objective was to transform American society into a more inclusive space for people with disabilities. In 2008, with the ADA Amendments Act, the definition of disability was expanded. When we talk about ADA protection, it hinges on a clear definition of disability. An individual is considered to have a disability if they have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, if they have a record of such impairment, or if they are regarded as having such impairment. The Missouri Department of Mental Health is committed to ensuring that employees with disabilities are not only protected, but provided with reasonable accommodations. DMH shows this commitment through Department Operating Regulation 6-147. This regulation promotes an inclusive environment where everyone has equal employment opportunities. The regulation also outlines the process that should be taken by an employee or by their supervisor if they feel that an accommodation might be necessary. Now, let's understand what triggers an accommodation request. First, if an employee believes they need an accommodation, the employee may feel that they have difficulty completing certain job duties because of a disability. Second, when an employee returns to work with limitations established by their physician. And third, if the employer, Fulton State Hospital, perceives that there might be a need, they can present the option to the employee. The term reasonable accommodation is very important in our understanding of supporting our coworkers. It involves modifications or adjustments that enable a qualified individual with a disability to perform essential job functions and enjoy equal benefits and privileges. An accommodation could mean changes in the job application process, the work environment, or how a job is performed. These accommodations are made to enable a well-qualified person with a disability to perform the essential functions of that position. It also allows the individual the opportunity to enjoy equal benefits and privileges of employment as employees that do not have disabilities. Let's explore some examples of reasonable accommodations. First, we have making existing facilities accessible and usable for those with disabilities. Second, we have job restructuring to cater to specific needs. And third, we have offering part-time or modified work schedules to meet an employee's documented need. It's important to note what reasonable accommodation does not include. It does not include that we are removing essential job functions or creating brand new jobs. We also do not provide personal items such as eyeglasses or mobility aids such as wheelchairs or walkers. Those would be the employee's responsibility, but the employee benefit packages can assist the employee with purchasing those items. An employer is not obligated to provide an accommodation if it creates an undue hardship for the organization. Undue hardship can mean many things, but we typically find undue hardship in accommodations that are unreasonably expensive or create inequity between employees. process starts with the employee. If an employee is facing challenges or believes they need an accommodation, they must communicate this to their immediate supervisor or directly to our employee health department. The employee health department can be found in the HR office on the second floor of the Nixon Forensic Center. The original notification can be formal or informal, in writing or verbally, to ensure a swift and effective response. If you report to your supervisor, they can help you contact employee health. After reporting to employee health, the employee health team will provide you with a request for reasonable accommodation form. Completing the request for reasonable accommodation form is very important to beginning what we call an interactive process. Cooperation in the interactive process is key, and it will ensure that all necessary information is provided to employee health so we can identify possible reasonable accommodations and help the employee achieve success in their positions. Turning our attention to employee health. Their goal is to ensure that the accommodations provided to the employee meet the needs of the employee and the hospital. Employee health is responsible for providing the employee with the request for reasonable accommodation form and ensuring its completion within 15 days or giving additional time if needed. Now, let's talk about the interactive process. It's a necessary part of the ADA process. Employee health will schedule a meeting to discuss the accommodation request and gather all necessary information, including information on the disability and a medical statement from a healthcare provider. This process ensures that the accommodations provided are tailored to the employee's specific needs, and the process involves ongoing communication between the employee and employee health. Fulton State Hospital may request additional information to fully understand the employee's needs, and it's critical that employees provide the requested information within the 15-day period. Failure to do so will result in the request being considered abandoned, and gathering all necessary information may take time. Employee health may schedule multiple meetings with the employee to gather all necessary information. It's important to note that each scenario is different and the time required will depend on the employee's situation. An employee can find resources on accommodations using the Job Accommodation Network, also called JAN. JAN provides free consulting services for employees and employers seeking accommodation ideas. Let's address some common questions related to accommodations. Can employers enforce conduct rules against a disabled employee? Yes, an employer should hold employees with accommodations to the same rules and regulations as every other employee. This creates equity and consistency for all employees. What about temporary accommodations while employee health works on the accommodation request? This is dependent on the situation and the time sensitivity of the matter. This can be discussed during the interactive process. Do employers have an obligation to provide temporary accommodations? It depends on the situation, and employee health will review each request individually. What is job restructuring? Job restructuring involves modifying job functions that an employee is unable to perform because of a disability and can alter how and when a function is performed. Do employers have to provide light duty for employees? At Fulton State Hospital, we have a light duty program for staff that may need temporary accommodations. However, it is a selective process and the assignments are time limited. However, it is not required of Fulton State Hospital to offer light duty for personal medical reasons. Is an employer required to accommodate an employee to take care of a family member with a disability? No. The ADA only requires accommodations for a qualified individual, meaning the employee with a disability. However, an employee can request changes to work schedules if they are required to take care of a disabled child or family member, and this is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. As a quick recap, our goals for today were to present ADA protections, explain the accommodation request process, and clarify the responsibilities shared by employees and employers. We want to emphasize the importance of reaching out to employee health and HR for any ADA-related questions or accommodations requests. Thank you for your time and attention today. Please remember that Fulton State Hospital Human Resources and Employee Health are here to support you with any ADA-related inquiries. And have a great day.